Hey, happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. Yay! I am the founder and editor-in-chief. So, today, that was a kind of an oddball start to the show. Started streaming about, 10 minutes ago, and we were getting tons and tons of drop frames, so many that I thought it's got to be something up with the routers. So I went and reset the router. So we should be all right. So tonight is episode 289 of the Daily Dope. It is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. I am going to be sharing a how to play and review of City of Gears, the steampunk themed game from Gray Fox Games. Going to share some strategies, things like that, talk about how the game plays, share my thoughts of the game, and give it my final review score. So if this is the first time you've popped in to check out the show, this is a very, very casual stream. It is live. It is on YouTube. Normally, I'll have some tabletop gaming news. I don't tonight. I'll get to that in just a sec. And then I'll follow up with an unboxing of a board game. Maybe we'll bust out an RPG, do a page through. A lot of times I do reviews as well. So it's about 50-50, about 50% reviews, 50% unboxings and first looks. As I mentioned, this is a live stream, so that does mean chat is available on YouTube. It is not on screen, so it's one of the ways that I keep some of the stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to the chat. So if you want to just say howdy, or maybe you have a question, or maybe there's something about City of Gears you'd like me to get a little more in depth about, then by all means, please chime in. If you like the video, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you like them, by all means, please subscribe. Don't forget to ring that little bell, because that will not only notify you of when new videos appear, it'll also tell you when the stream goes live within about 5 minutes or so. It's not instantaneous. That's why usually the show streams for about 5-10 minutes, and then we have people start popping into chat. So as I mentioned, there's no tabletop gaming news tonight, because there really wasn't anything today that jumped out at me, and I was like, wow, I really want to share that. Just, things have been kind of quiet. Well, a little more going on the role-playing game side of things, but a lot of Kickstarters out there right now that look kind of meh to me. And I'm not one of these people who just shares news to share news. I normally share news for things that pique my interest, and thus, hopefully, pique your interest as well. So unfortunately, no news today, so I was kind of surprised, but there is one thing I do want to mention, and that is today Cubicle 7 Entertainment is celebrating their 10th anniversary. That's pretty amazing. Cubicle 7 started out just before the Gaming Gang kicked off. That's pretty wild, because I'm in my 9th year. So right now they are celebrating. They've got loads of different announcements. I think for the next 10 days, they're going to have a special announcement each and every day. Plus, you can save 40 to 70% off of Cubicle 7 Entertainment releases over on Drive-Thru RPG. That includes The One Ring, Adventures in Middle-earth, the Doctor Who role-playing game, of which I am a big fan, as well as, I believe, the 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So if you are going to swing over to Drive-Thru RPG to check out the sale, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on our banner. That way, when you get there, if you happen to make any sort of purchase, I'll get a small portion of that sale. Hey, so Dan's popping in from No Enemies Here. Sorry, I'm late. Hey, don't worry, Dan. I'm late too. I started the show off and it was dropping like 30% of the frames. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? So I actually stopped the stream, went and reset the router, and restarted this show about 10 minutes later. So you are not really that late. So anyway, thanks for popping in, because I know Dan always likes to say that the Daily Dope is his 8 o'clock show that he catches. He's got his stories, right? It's your 8 o'clock stories. So yeah, my life's like like a soap opera anyway. So good to have you here, Dan. So as I mentioned, I am going to be reviewing City of Gears in just a few moments. But before I do that, I do want to share what's coming up on the shows this week and into next. So as I mentioned on yesterday's show, my mom is coming in from Arizona. She was supposed to come in today, couldn't get on a flight because she's flying on a pass, buddy pass, of course. So she's coming in tomorrow. I might actually have to go pick her up at the airport. So I was not expecting to be doing that, but both my brother and my sister-in-law are both going to be flying. So I might have to go get her at the airport. So the original game plan was to pre-record tomorrow's show. I don't know what's going on yet, but I will probably end up having to pre-record 1 or 2 shows this week because my mom's in town. Actually, she's looking to relocate back to the Chicago area. She's not going to like the winters, I'll tell you that much, because she's lived out in Arizona for about 30 years, 32 years, somewhere in that vicinity. So, I don't know. But it'll be nice to have my mom around, or at least nearby, rather than 1,800 miles away. So anyway, for tomorrow's show, don't know if it's live or if it'll be Memorex, but on tomorrow's show, I will be unboxing Mark Herman's Empire of the Sun, the Pacific War 1941 to 1945, which is from my good friends over at GMT. This is one of the recent reprints. This isn't a new edition or anything like that. They just reprinted it because these sell out all the time because it's an awesome game. So I will be unboxing and taking a look at that on tomorrow's show. Thursday, I will be reviewing the Starfinder Beginner Box from Paizo Inc. I just did the unboxing for this very recently, so I am going to kind of walk through and talk about the 2 different books, all the extra goodies that are in here as well, give you my thoughts on that. Then we've got on Friday's show, I will be reviewing Forum Trajanum from Stronghold Games. This is a game of ancient Rome from Stefan Feld. Stefan Feld does a lot of ancient Roman games. So moving into next week, I got stuff just stacked up all over the place here. On Monday, I will be reviewing Wildlands. This is the miniatures game that is designed by Martin Wallace. This is from Osprey Games. I did an unboxing of this and looked at some of the additional miniatures that you can pick up. One of the things that's pretty cool about this is that the miniatures all have an ink wash already, so some of the detail pops without actually having to paint them. Although, in my opinion, not painting miniatures is sort of taboo in my book. It's like, if you're going to play a miniatures game, you should paint the miniatures. Then on next Tuesday's show, I will be reviewing Tiny Towns from AEG, the family-friendly town builder that has recently come out. Looks like we're dropping some frames again, but not anything too terrible at the moment. Weird. I don't know what's going on. You know, and sometimes it's because I'm doing 60 frames per second. Sometimes it'll show that I'm dropping frames here on my end, and then the stream is okay. Or sometimes it doesn't look like I'm dropping any frames. People say, hey, it's a little choppy. And then the finished product, the rendered video is fine. So, I don't know. Have no idea. It's just out of my control, really. Also want to point out, amazingly enough, I received the Dungeons and Dragons starter set for Stranger Things today. Originally, I was informed I was not on the list to receive this because it was a Hasbro release, not considered a Wizards of the Coast release, even though Wizards of the Coast is right on the box here. But I did get it. It is super light. I think this is MSRP. I think is about $20 on this. I will probably do a standalone video unboxing for this because I think it'll be actually probably pretty quick, and I don't want to devote a segment of the show to something that's going to take like 10 minutes or something like that. All right, so that is what's coming up this week and into next on the Daily Dope. As I've mentioned every show, if you are a fan of the gaminggang.com, if you like the Daily Dope, keep in mind that both are not-for-profit endeavors. So if you dig the show, dig the site, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Little Bub's Big Fund actually supplies grant monies to organizations who care for special needs pets who are awaiting adoption. So, pretty cool fund. 100% of all monies that are raised do go to the organizations as well. So that is something very, very important to keep in mind because, of course, a lot of charities, including, I must admit, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, don't necessarily actually give out 100% of the monies that are raised. But with this fund, it is 100%. So pretty cool. And that fund has been going on for about 5 or 6 years and has raised well over, I think it's, honestly, if I remember correctly, I think it's about $300,000 a year. So I know that a variety of different charities and things like that Lil Bub is actually associated with, and I have my little bubs here. I've got my little whiz bub, and I've got my bigger bub who's kind of poking out right here over my shoulder, and I even have my Lil Bub's little book sitting here. I know, what can I tell you? I'm a goofball. I am a goofball, but I love animals, so what can I tell you? And Lil Bub's story is really wild. You should check it out. It is very, very unusual. And she has actually survived against a whole lot of odds, I must admit. Okay, so I know folks are tuning in because they want to check out City of Gears from Gray Fox Games. It's designed by Chris Letter. Let me make sure. Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, let me get rid of these because I know we're going to start. Yep. I was going to say, I know we're going to see some other images pop up. Hey, Vinyl Rabbit's popping in. Good to see you, Vinyl Rabbit. Anyway, so I am going to share a how to play and review City of Gears from Gray Fox Games, designed by Chris Letter and Daryl Andrews. Chris Letter, I think it's Letter, L-E-D-E-R. He's more associated with Calliope Games now. But artwork and graphic design is provided by Anthony Cornorier. Taking a stab there. Chris Letter and Tyler Myatt. The game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 45 minutes to an hour, and does carry an MSRP of $59.99. So I have actually set the game up. So let's switch on over to the other camera here. All right, there we go. It's like, what the heck is going on? So I've got things kind of squeezed in a little bit. I am going to actually zoom in for us to get better looks at certain things here. So, effectively, this would be set up if I had this over here, then it would be set up for the 4-player game. So I've kind of set it up as the 4-player game, keeping in mind we've got this player factory board off here to the side. So the premise of City of Gears is that in the 19th century there was this inventor who was building this just magical, magnificent city, and unfortunately he passed away before the city came online, and now, decades later, after the city has fallen into disrepair, you and your rivals are trying to actually rejuvenate the city to finish the work that the inventor had started. So you're all competing to control these different areas of the city, these different tiles of the city, and connect these different areas to your factory. This is your factory here. This is your factory board. And each of the players will have a factory board. We'll zoom in and get a better look at it too. So the name of the game is Prestige Points, Victory Points otherwise. And you're aiming to try to get Prestige Points at every opportunity you possibly can. So there are other things that are going on in the game, but you always want to keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's going to be the Prestige Points that will win you the game. So there are various different tiles. You're going to set up for a standard 4-player game. You're going to have 9 of these tiles, and you're going to select these tiles at random. You will set them out like this. Each one is going to get a prestige discovery token on it, which is good for 2 prestige points for the player who discovers what is this city tile. So you're going to set that up. You're going to set up your player factory boards just like so. You're going to set them up so you've got a spot like this so you can drop gears into it. You're going to start off with your own colored gear. You're going to start off with some automatons, I should say. I like to just say robots. But in the game, they're called automatons. So you would have it laid out like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can get a better look at the tiles. We're going to get a better look at the factory board as well. So let's start off by looking at the factory board for the player that I do not have set up here, the one that would have been up north on the board. So let me put my reading specs on. So each player will get their own converter gear. So in the game, we'll have these gears, and I'll be showing these different gears off in just a couple of moments. But each of the players will have a gear of their own color, and it's going to sit like that. It's going to sit like that in their factory board just as a reminder to them that, hey, they have this special power. Every player's converter gear is the same. You can take 2 of your resources to get 1 of your choice. So because there are dice that are involved in the game where you're rolling for your resource production, there are times that you're going to want a resource that you are not going to have on hand. So you're able to actually use your converter and to change 2 resources, kind of trade in 2 resources for 1 of your choice. What I always recommend is if you have used your special ability on any of your gears, just flip it upside down. Just flip it upside down during your turn. So let's flip that back over. Now, one of the cool things I liked about the way City of Gears is set up is, now these are stickers that are set inside the plastic, and they're fairly well, they're pretty straight. There are a few, like this one's a little bit crooked, but I have to admit, I would prefer Gray Fox Games to be putting the stickers on than me putting the stickers on. If you are a war gamer out there, and if you're familiar with the Commands and Colors series from GMT Games, you know what a bear just putting stickers on all those cubes are. It's like, oh my gosh. I remember when I would get a Commands and Colors release from GMT, and I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll be watching some movies here, putting some movies on in the background, because I'll be spending the rest of my evening stickering. So thankfully, didn't have to do that. So each of the factory boards is going to have a name. So yellow player is Mechacorp. Red is Steambot Industries. You've got Future Vision Technology and Cogswell. You've got Cogswell, I want to say, I think it's Investment Corp or something like that. There you go. Final Rabbit says I spent 7 hours putting stickers on Command and Colors Ancients. Luckily, it was at work. Maybe luckily for you, maybe not luckily for your company that you were putting stickers on while you were at work. So Dan says I've actually played this game at my place of work. So cool. I assume Dan's talking about City of Gears. So anyway, so you'll have that set up there. Then each of the players is going to have their dice. So we've got the resource dice. Each player has 4 of them. You're only going to use 3 for a majority of the game. Now, there is a certain point in the game that you'll get your 4th die. Everybody will get a 4th die as well. But you're going to have your resource dice as well. So you're going to have those off to the side. You know, might as well put them up here. Then each of the players will have their automatons, the robots. So you're going to have 3 of them that you can purchase as the game continues. You're going to have 3 of them that you're going to start off with to be able to use right away. In essence, City of Gears is actually an area control game. Is really what it comes down to. So you're going to be looking at trying to control the various different city tiles to be able to use their special abilities and actually try to link them together so you can get all these special benefits of having them linked together. So we also have an area down here that you'll be able to store 1 of each resource. So the resources we've got are Steam. So we've got Steam as a resource. Then we have Cogs. Although strangely enough, even though it's Cogs is the resource that allows you to draw gear. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't just called a gear, but it is called a cog. Then we've got Zap, which is kind of the rarest of all of the resources. And then we have a wild, so you could save anything that you wanted. Let's say you wanted to save another gear. So at the end of your round, you can save resources that you did not spend. 1 of each plus a wild. Anything over that you may have gained is going to be lost. We also have an area for movement. We've got these little movement tokens because you can earn movement tokens for your robots. I'm going to just stick to robots. Just like for prestige points, I'm just going to say victory points, right? So we've got the robots there. You've got them laying down like this in the 3 little boxes because that's to indicate that they are not available yet. You have to purchase them. And you purchase these additional robots with your prestige points, with those victory points. You'll see the first one is 2, 4, and then 6 to be able to purchase the extra robots. And to be honest, you want those robots as quickly as you possibly can get them because you're going to be sending off your robots to do different things. So then we have a little reference area here on our factory board. So it's going to walk us through the process of what goes on each round. So each player is going to take their turn completely, and then it will move to the next player. Yep. So Dan's popping out. All right. Thanks, Dan, for stopping in. Came in late, leaving early. Not good. Usually pop in for just a bit. Some shows you stick around for the whole show. But anyway, thanks for popping in, Dan. Good luck with No Enemies Here this coming Saturday. So yes, Dan hosts kind of a news show, tabletop gaming news show on Saturdays called No Enemies Here. The main focus is on conflict simulations. So anyway, so you're going to produce your resources. That's the first thing you're going to do. Then you're going to activate occupied tiles, then gain your link bonuses. Then you can perform actions in any order. You can move one of your robots. You can draw gears. You can only do that once per turn, and you can use one of the gears as a linking gear, which I'm going to show you when we kind of focus on the board here. And you can use one as a development. Now, if you notice, down here on the bottom of the factory sheet are these 5 cutouts for half gears. Well, when you're drawing gears, you're going to randomly select a gear, and you're going to have an option. You can use it like this to link to the tiles. Or, if you flip it over, it's going to tell you something. So, for an example, this says, use one link belonging to an opponent while activating link bonus. So, this could be a special ability. So, you can decide that do you want to use this gear to link tiles, or do you want to use this gear to give you a permanent special ability? And you would place the gear like so, if you decided you wanted to use it as a special ability. Remember, keeping in mind that City of Gears is an area control game at its heart. Hey, Kabuki Kid's popping in. Good to see you, Kabuki Kid. So, one of the cool aspects of the game that I really like is when you are drawing these gears, kind of sitting there and weighing your options. Do you use it as to link, or do you use it to get permanent special abilities? Keeping in mind that you can only travel with your robots, with your automatons, to areas that you have a link to. So, and I'm going to show you the links in just a couple of moments here. But that kind of gives you an idea of the extra wrinkle that these gears have. Do I use it for a permanent, as a permanent special ability or special bonus? Or do I use it to try to link together my factory to city tiles and other city tiles to each other? So that is another action. You can overcharge. So you can use Zap. You can use Zap to, if you have 1 point of Zap, you can actually overload another player's robot if you are in the same area, if you're on the same tile. Or you can use two points of Zap to destroy someone else's gear that is linking to their factory or through the city. So, and then you can also construct robots. So one of the items that it's important to keep in mind, and I will talk about activating the city tiles in just a sec, is that when you are activating city tiles, when you're doing any of these things, once you're done, you are done. There is no something changed, I want to go back and activate a tile again or anything like that. So that's important to keep in mind, because one of the gang, as we were playing, would be like, oh no, I forgot, I wanted to do this. And it was like, no, I'm sorry. You already moved past that segment. You moved past that phase. You're no longer in that phase. You can't go back. And they're like, complaining. And I was like, you don't see anybody else doing it. It's like, that's how the game works. We've told you twice already. Just like, kind of going off on a tangent, I had to laugh if you're familiar with the Flying Buffalo games, Nuclear War, right? I mean, which is from, like, I don't know, the 60s, right? But it's a hysterical game. But we introduced Elliot Miller, my best friend, over at voiceofe.com, and I introduced my brother Greg to it, and he couldn't get enough. He thought it was hysterical. But if you know the game, you understand that you have to actually activate things in a certain order, and your cards are face down. So if you don't have a warhead to your missile, well, then you're out of luck. Yes, I am a meanie. I'm a meanie when I've explained the same rule 3 times and somebody can't wrap their head around it. Then I am a meanie. I'm like, no, sorry. Everybody else is playing by the rules. I am not letting you slide. All right, so that is pretty much how you set up your factory board. Now, as I mentioned, I didn't have this set up as a player, so I'm just going to move this out of the way. Then I'm going to show you the rules real quick. Rules are pretty nicely put together here. Yeah, I'll zoom out a touch. There we go. So, pretty nicely put together. Lots of illustrations to it. Really large font. I had absolutely no issues learning how to play the game from the rules as they are written. So, and there aren't a lot of things to trip you up either. One aspect of the game is that I thought was kind of interesting too, is that there's a lot of take that. There's going to be a lot of gotcha going on in this game that probably wasn't overly apparent at first taking a look at the the artwork and things like that. But with 4 players and you're all fighting over 9 tiles, there is going to be a lot of people getting their gears blasted away, robots blown up, people trying to take tiles away from other players. You're gonna butt heads a lot. Now there is actually a variant for 4 players for less conflict, and you'll actually use extra city tiles. So whereas we have a grid of 9, which we're cutting off some up top here, but we have a grid of 9, you would actually have an extra tile, an extra city tile between the player factory and the city, so to kind of space people out a little bit more and to prevent a lot of conflict over the various different tiles that are in place. Once all of these tiles have been revealed, then we start triggering a possible end game, and we have these opening day gears, these white gears. So they start out of play. So Vinyl's asking, is there a solitaire mode? There is not. There is not a solitaire mode for City of Gears. So Vinyl says, nuclear war, the only way to win is kill everyone, usually along with yourself. That happens a lot in nuclear war, because when you knock somebody out, they get to like launch all of their missiles that they can put together at everybody else, and yeah, it's pretty wild. A lot of games of nuclear war end up in basically stalemates because everybody's been wiped out. But still, it's a pretty hysterical game. So to kind of give you an idea of how the game would play out, I'm going to start off. I'm going to say, okay, I'm the red player here. I've got my Steambot Industries down below. And I've got, let's see, let's zoom out a little more. Whoops. So you can at least see more of my board here. So I would start off and I'm going to roll my resources. So I've got my production dice here. So the production dice can show steam. They can show zap. They can show a cog or steam. So it could be have a slash through it. It's either or. It's my choice, or a cog. So what did I? Well, let's just re-roll it. I'm like, what did I just roll? All right, so I've got a zap. I've got 2 zaps. Whoa, I got 2 zaps, and I've got steam or a gear. Well, what I want to do here is I'm going to take a steam because I want to be able to move one of my robots. So to move one of the robots, one of the automatons, you either need to use zap or you need to use steam in order to get them to move. Now, if you use and here we've got them right over, or of course, if you have a movement token, if you've earned a movement token, that's another way to move a robot. So if I use steam or if I use a movement token that I've earned, I can move them 1 tile. Now, if I wanted to use zap to move them, if I had a string of tiles that I had connected with my gears, I can use zap to, it's like rapid transit is what it's called. So I can move along a straight, and not a straight line. I can move along a line to any tile that I've got connected. So I'm going to use this as a steam. No, actually, I'm going to use this as a cog. I'm going to use that as a gear, so I can draw a gear. I'm going to draw a gear. It says choose a resource you stored last turn, gain one more of that resource. Or I can use it as one of my gears to connect. Well, I told you before, this is an area control game. You want to try to start discovering these tiles and getting stuff going on these tiles as soon as you possibly can. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop that. I've got my little marker, my color marker here to show that this is my gear. So I've got that. So I've rolled my production dice. I don't have any city tiles to activate. So I'm performing my actions now, right? So I drew gears. I can only do it once per turn. So if I had an ability, something pops up that tells me I can draw gears again, I can. That is like an exception to the rule. But if I rolled like all gears, I couldn't just go, well, I'm drawing a gear, and then later on I'm drawing another gear. I have to do it all at once. And remember, I can do a maximum of one of these and a maximum where it's a development. Whereas the developments are the ones that go down on the bottom here, which are special abilities I can use every round, every one of my rounds. So, all right, so I've got that. Now I'm going to use Zap because I have nothing else I can move my robot. I'm going to use Zap, and I'm going to move my automaton from my factory to this tile. You can only move to an adjacent tile. So I'm going to get 2 prestige points, so 2 victory points. I'm going to get those. And now I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to show you the tile. So this is a railway terminus. So if I activate this, because now I've got a robot on here, I could conceivably activate this next turn. It says move one of your automatons from this tile across any number of players' gears to another revealed tile. So this allows me kind of like that rapid transit, but I don't have to actually use my gears that connect it. To do that, I would have to spend a steam and have an automaton there. At the end of the game, this is worth 5 victory points. And if I have these linked together and I activate another tile that's linked to this, I would gain another prestige point. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to show you better what these tiles look like. And I'm going to use some that are not being used in this game, just to kind of give you an idea. So for an example, this would be City Hall. There are 21 tiles. So I really appreciate there being 21 of these, because even if you were using the 4-player game where you're looking at like lower conflict, then you're still using 13 out of the 21. So you always have a variety. Each game is going to be different because you're always going to be having a variety of different randomly generated tiles. So for an example, this is City Hall. This is just kind of, these gold bars are just kind of telling you what sort of tile it is. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything else. It's a wealth tile. There's a science tile. There's an industrial tile. So, but it says the cost to activate this tile would be having a robot there, having the automaton there, and 2 cogs. Swap the positions of any 2 gears in the city. So these are connected gears. So that is the special. That's the special activation effect or ability that I would get if I activated this tile. Then at the end of the game, if I control this tile, so to control a tile, you have to have a combination of the most robots and the most of your gears. So whoever has the most is considered to control this tile. If it's a tie, whoever has the most gears is the winner. If it's still a tile, then you'll share the prestige points. So, at the end of the game, it's worth 2 plus. It also says 1 for each adjacent tile that I own. Now, if I were to have this linked and I activated another tile that links up with this, then I would actually get a Steam. So, yeah, Vinyl Rabbit's going back to work. Hey, thanks for popping by, Vinyl. If you want to check out my final thoughts, check out the video later when it's up. Catch you next time. Anyway, so this is the special effect if this were to be linked. So I'm going to kind of show you how linking and activating tiles actually works. So let me zoom back out so we can at least see some of these tiles. I'll get the dice out of the way. So let's say this game has continued on for a bit and we've revealed some of these city tiles. And of course, each of the players are gaining their prestige points. Now, there's a lot of different ways to get the prestige points, and we have a lot of different tokens with different values on them. So we've got 10, 1, 3, 5, and as you earn them, it's recommended, and I certainly recommend this, that you flip them upside down so that you keep everybody else in the dark on how many victory points you've got. Now, you might want to have somebody who's the banker who, let's say for an example, I want to get a 10, so I'm going to trade in 10 tokens worth to get that. So you might want to have one of the players say, okay, I'll be the banker and I'll handle being able to make change and things like that. Now remember, you can spend these prestige points to unlock extra robots too. All right, so for an example, let's say we've gone through and we've unlocked a few of these. So we've unveiled some of these. So let's go, and I'm just going to, as an example, I'm going to toss some of these gears in here. Now remember, you have to drop a gear down before you can go and discover what another city tile is. Let's do this. And we'll assume that each of the players have already gone about taking some of the special abilities, special as developments on their boards, on their factories. So let's just do something like this. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can only drop the gear down in a location that is adjacent to one of your automatons. Actually, this is kind of stupid. This would be revealed. Especially if I'm using blue. Like a dummy. Yeah, let's do that. And let's see. Let's say I've got these, and the green player over here's got these. Which I would take a guess they would have probably already discovered what this is, but anyway, I'm just trying to make a point here. So let's say my automaton is here. So, and I've got Steam. Let's say I've got some Steam I've saved up. So, when we get to, after we roll our production, I'll do that once again, just for the heck of it. So there's my production. Put that right there. So I've got 2 cogs and a Steam. So, for the railway terminus, it costs me, having automaton here and a steam in order to activate this special ability. So, and it says move one of your robots from this tile across any number of player gears to another revealed tile. So I would say, okay, so I'm going to activate this. I activate that, and I'm going to move my robot from here over to here. Now, when I activate this, now we look at the links. So it shows from the railway terminus, this aerodrome is actually linked. Is actually linked by my gears. So when I activate this tile, I would actually get the link bonus from this. Now, if I had another, as an example, if I had a gear here, I would actually get the link bonus here. I would also get this link bonus here, which this link bonus here gives you a development. So that is another gear, but it's this side. Or it's, for an example, move one of your automatons one tile before activating tiles. Would be one of the special, would be that special effect that this gear would have. So as far as linking, then I could say, oh wow, so I get to do this, and I would get a prestige point. So I'd be like, okay, give me a prestige point. Boom, that would go into my bank of prestige points. And then say I had that linked, I would get this too. So that is one of the cool aspects I really like about the game, is that you're sitting there, you're putting all this stuff together, and you're trying to link these various different city tiles together so you can get all these special bonuses when you activate a tile. Now you have to make sure that you're able to pay the price, whatever it may be. You have to have the prerequisites in order to activate the tile. So a lot of times, many of these require you to actually have an automaton there. So if we were looking at, let's say end game, right? So when we get to the end game, let's say we were trying to score this tile here, right? So it's going to be worth 3 prestige points to the person who controls it. Just for heck, let's do that. So remember, I told you when you're trying to figure out who's going to score these sweet, sweet prestige points, you have to count up how many automatons are there on that city tile, plus the gears. So as an example here, I've got 3. That makes 4, but the green player has 1, 2, 3, 4. That'd be a tie. So in the case of a tie, we would both get these 3 prestige points. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we would not. They would get the prestige points because the person who's got the most gears, in the case of a tie, gets the points. So the green player would get the 3 prestige points when we got to the final scoring. So, as an example here, let's say I've got Zap. Let's say I've got some Zap available. I could say, hey, I'm going to spend a Zap, or 2 Zap, I should say, I'd have to have. I can spend 2 Zap to destroy any one person's gear. Any one person's gear, anywhere on the board, and this gear actually would be removed from play. So it would go back into the box. It's removed from play. There's no discards that you're going to reshuffle back in or anything like that. You're not going to put it back into the draw bag, anything like that. Once a gear is destroyed, it's removed from the game. Now, on the flip side, let's say we got a blue over here, and the blue player has a Zap. They decide they're going to spend a Zap, and they're going to overload my automaton. You have to have an automaton in a city tile if you're going to try to overload another robot. And when that happens, he's just placed back on my factory board. Just goes back on the factory board like so, able to be used again. So you're not actually destroying the automatons, you're just overloading them, and they go back to the factory for repairs, in essence. But that's a good way for you to knock out other players' automatons that are on tiles that you want, or you want to be able to activate to gain their special abilities. Or you spend your 2 zaps in order to destroy people's gears that are connecting them to other city tiles. Because remember, if you don't have a way to cross over with one of your gears, you can't move your automatons around the board unless you've got some sort of a special ability, or you're, for an example, like here, the railway terminus allows me to use other people's tiles to move around, other people's gears, I should say, to move around on the various tiles. Once all of the tiles in the city have been revealed, kind of give you an idea, let's grab all these prestige tokens off, let's flip these all over. I like the artwork too. I think the artwork's kind of cool. Artwork almost gives me the vibe of a city building game, like a city building video game. So I think the artwork's pretty cool. So okay, so we've revealed all 9 of the city tiles here. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the 4 white gears. You are now going to put them, you're going to seed them into the bag with the other gears. And whenever anybody is pulling out a gear, if they get a white one, they're going to put it off on the side until you've drawn 3. Now, if you want to do a little quicker game, you can, and say that once 2 of them are drawn, that activates the last turn. Everybody's going to go through and finish up. Everybody's going to finish up. Everybody's going to get one more turn, and then you're going to go to the final scoring. Everybody's going to get another round, turn, whatever you want to consider it. But normally it's going to be 3 of these. So what would happen is, if I were reaching in, because I had, I rolled cogs, I'm like, oh, okay, so I pull out a white. I'd say, okay, put that to the side. We've got 1 out already. And then I reach in, and I take another 1 out. So for an example here, would be if and you'll see there's like a little arrow to indicate what's the top of this. So this would be a special ability of, I can trade a cog in for a movement token. So I could keep that, or of course, once again, I can flip it over and utilize it to connect the different city tiles. Once all of the city tiles have been revealed, everybody gets 4 dice. Everybody gets their other 4th die to be able to utilize when they're rolling for their resources. So things ramp up a little bit when all the tiles have been revealed. Of course, then, once all the tiles have been revealed, you've got the white gears in the draw bag to try to count down for the countdown, basically the end game mechanic. And of course, you're going to have people fighting left and right, destroying different people's connecting gears, overloading their automatons, and so on and so forth. So once again, as I mentioned, at the end of the game, you're going to go through every one of the city tiles. You're going to determine who controls that tile. They are going to get the prestige points for that tile. They're indicated in the lower right corner of each of the tiles. And then everybody's going to add up all of their prestige points that they have earned throughout the game for various different things. And whoever's got the most is declared the winner. If there's a tie with the points, whoever controls the most city tiles is considered the winner. And if you're still tied, then it's a shared victory. So all in all, that's pretty much how you play City of Gears. It's, as I mentioned before, it is an area control game where you're looking to control the various different city tiles, activate city tiles, try to make sure that you've got them connected with various different gears so you can collect these extra special bonuses for being linked. And then once all the tiles are discovered and all of the white gears come out, I should say 3 of the white gears come out unless you're playing a shorter game. then you total up all your victory points. So, all in all, what do I think of City of Gears? So, first off, the component quality, really, really like the component quality. As I mentioned earlier, as I was starting to show you how to play, I appreciate the fact that I did not have to go and put stickers on all these little gears. They were already on here. I really like that. Even though, some of them are a little off center, they're not terrible. Some of them might be, a little bit of overlap, but no worse than I would have done. Guarantee that much. So, the little automaton meeples, the little robot meeples are pretty cool. I get a kick out of these. The dice, they're not cut dice, but this is not just painted on either. I believe there's a heat treatment that's used to kind of, I don't want to say infuse, but to kind of make sure that the like sticker that's on this are not going to just, the stickers that are on these are not just going to pop out. We've played the game 4 times, and I haven't seen any problem with these dice with the images coming off. So the tokens are nice chunky tokens as well. The player factory boards are really nicely done. I like how everything's cut with the little gears and the gears pop in. You do have to kind of be careful that nobody bangs the table, because it is possible to kind of knock things out of whack a little bit, but not too badly. And especially if you play on like a felt cover, or if you, like we have a tablecloth, we didn't have any issues with it being bumped around. We did play it on like a wooden table one time, and somebody did bang the table, and it, like, everything kind of slid around a little bit. But that's not really a knock on the game or the components or anything. Just pointing out that you want maybe lay down like a tablecloth to kind of keep things from slipping around a little bit. All in all, I think the component quality is really, really nicely done, especially at this price point. You figure it's a $60 game. You're getting some pretty nice components. Rules are really easy to follow through and understand. One of the things, I thought it was weird that this is called a cog instead of a gear, because you're drawing a gear, and it's called a gear in the game. It's not called these are not called cogs. These are called gears. So I thought that was a little weird. But all in all, really nicely presented rule book as well. Enjoy the gameplay. I was surprised by a little of the... I wasn't expecting the kind of take that's involved, especially when you get 4 players playing. You don't have a lot of real estate out there to be messing around with. And then once all those tiles have been revealed, then everybody's fighting over those tiles and who's going to be, controlling the ones that have the bigger prestige point values, the ones that actually have the coolest effects when you activate them. Very, very cool. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I like the discovery aspect. I love the part where you have to decide, do I use this gear to connect a city tile to my factory, or one of the city tiles that I've already connected to another city tile? Or does it have a really cool special effect that I can utilize once per turn that I want to keep, instead of actually using it to connect tiles? So there's that kind of there's that juggling that you have to do too. So one aspect that people may not necessarily like is some of the randomness. Now, of course, when you're rolling the dice, you get the 3 dice for the majority of the game. It is possible that you are not going to come up with something that you really want. Like, for an example, Zap. Zap tends to be kind of rare, but you do have that converter, and it's important to not forget that you've got your converter. Everybody's got the same ability on their converter that allows them to take 2 resources, spend those to get one of their choice. That said, if you have to do that a lot, people feel like they're kind of getting cheated. It's like, oh man, I'm never rolling what I need to get. So there might be some people who won't like that randomness, that sometimes your actions are tied into the roll of those dice. Me, it didn't bother me at all. Another thing I will point out, thematically, does it feel like it's really steampunkish? No, not really. There's the cool artwork. There's the little robots. But does it feel like, oh wow, this is a steampunk kind of adventure or anything like that? No, not really. But then again, that didn't bother me either. But I mean, if somebody's approaching this game thinking that this is going to be like a big steampunk experience, no, that's not going to be the case. But then again, it's an area control game. It's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be dripping in thematics. So, all in all, we really enjoyed City of Gears. In fact, I'll be honest, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was originally going to enjoy it. And I think it was mainly because of a little more take that than I had expected. And I like that. I like some confrontation in my games. I'm not a big, and if you follow the show, you already know, I don't like the puzzly sort of Euro games that it's like I'm playing in a vacuum and what I do has no effect on what you actually do. I'm not a fan of that. This certainly is not the case with City of Gears. So, all in all, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give City of Gears a very, very solid 9.2 out of 10. It is that good. As I mentioned before, it is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in about 45 minutes to an hour, and that is true. Even with 4 players, you're normally going to get the game in 60 minutes or less. That is another plus. Because a lot of times games say, oh yeah, it's about an hour with 4 players, and 90 minutes later you're still playing. That is not the case here with City of Gears. It does carry an MSRP of $59.99, but I will say, I have seen this game online for as low as around $36. That, my friends, is a steal. So I know people give me a hard time about mentioning buying stuff online. I'm not telling you have to go buy it online. You can go to your friendly local game store. It's cool with me. I'm just pointing out that it does carry a $60 MSRP. I've seen it for almost half price. That's a pretty smoking deal. If you don't have City of Gears and you enjoy somewhatly thematic area control games that move along really quickly, play well with 2, 3, or 4 players, by all means, City of Gears belongs in your collection. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, on tomorrow's show, still not sure if it's going to be live or it's going to be recorded ahead of time. But I will be unboxing and taking a first look at the latest print run of Empire of the Sun, the Pacific War, 1941 to 1945, from GMT Games for War Game Wednesday. So as I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, by all means, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow. So for those of you who popped in, joined me in chat, thank you very much for keeping me company. And of course, everyone else who's been watching or who's going to watch this in the future, thanks very much for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.